Good evening, everyone, and welcome to the Galactic Goddess Roundtables on the 13th of every month. Today's date is the 13th of January 2026, and it is 7:13 p.m. here now, which is kind of funny. Um, and I'm in Ireland, of course. So this evening, I would very much like to welcome Karen Ann MacDonald, clan mother, and also Christy Wixon. So, guys, please, would you like to start by introducing yourselves?
Christy. Thank you. Thank you for having me here. My name is Christy Wixon. I am actually an upcoming author of two books. One is called The Radiant Starlight, and it is an ascension guide to help humanity with the ascension process. And my other book is called Eternally Starborn. It is taking a deeper dive into galactic history, some of creation process for this universe, in different aspects, different timelines. Um, it's also going to be bringing out a lot of the wars, but a lot of the positive aspects of coming through the wars and realizing who we are as species, not just humanity species, but all the species in this universe and in other universes. I'm hoping to be able to make my bigger book, Eternally Starborn, into a movie. And I have some people lined up that I'm going to be working with on that too as well. So
Fantastic.
that's yeah, it's a big thing I want to work on. I really believe that this time that we're here right now on Earth is a very important time for all of us, especially in the community that we're in, and want to help in as many ways as possible in doing inner work, and not only for ourselves as a race, but also for the Earth, because we work together. Um, yeah.
And when you say the wars, Christy, do you mean the galactic wars?
I do. All the way back from the second seeding from Hyperborea, all the way up through the Thousand Year Wars, the Angelic Wars, the Orion Wars. Um, there was more wars that happened later on that weren't so significant in this universe, but in other sectors and other universes. All of Egypt and the influences of the Anunnaki and the Anunnaki. There was a lot going on. There were deity and god wars going on too that people don't realize. So
Yeah. Thank you, Christy.
you're very
So,
welcome.
so Karen, over to you.
Thank you for your kind invitation. Nice to actually I was just noticing Christy and I are on Facebook. we, we chatted
Yeah, we
last year.
are.
We chatted last year a little bit about elevation, where to be, all stuff, safe zones. Um, I'm Karen Ann Lucic McDonald, so I'm a quantum holistic nurse. I'm a medical intuitive, did the Reiki master thing, matrix energetics, went into doing essential oils, so became a aromatherapist, doing herbology, and then got into biofeedback and all the fun stuff. So I love biofeedback because it's an advanced form of even like doing tuning forks, things like that, right, for radionics. But we can do it purely just with sounds. So we can actually have devices that kind of like ultrasound you and see what kind of tones fit into your biofield. And so we're finding they're just about as accurate as doing blood. And so it's not a new form. It's been around actually for a couple hundred years, but it's maybe newer to some people when they're hearing about bioresonance, biofeed, frequency medicine, energetic medicine, all this. So we can look at the biofield kind of like you would look at doing thermal imaging in the hospital and ultrasound. So that's kind of my fun things and developing new forms of medicine and, enjoying. And like right now, I'm just recouping right now. I accidentally fell and fractured my wrist. So these are the things to educate people on how to do that. So I've been using, DSMO and essential oils and castor oil, hot wet towels, things like that. And then using actually tuning forks that actually work on the bone. So I can actually feel where the frequency is by the way the toning is. So you can do sound instead of acupuncture. So it's always an interesting experience to heal yourself when you go through something too. So, but that's it. That's my excitement.
Thank you.
Yeah, I
Thank you,
was
Karen.
just gonna say
And
I do have a Frequency Fridays if people are interested on my YouTube, and I'm on all the social media as well. So,
and what is your YouTube channel, Karen?
Kiernan Lusick McDonald, and if you're looking for biofeedback, like I'm working with about 10 or 15 devices. I primarily use Genius as one of the flagships, but I have all sorts of models and modalities, and vaginal steaming and recovery for sexual abuse and ritual abuse, that kind of thing, post-traumatic stress.
And for those listening, in the future, myself and Karen did a recent interview where Karen talks about a lot of health information. I'm not able to, because of some of the things that she says and her information, I'm not able to post those to YouTube or Facebook or any of the censored platforms. So please come and subscribe to my Substack for free, and you'll see it on there. So thanks, guys, for joining me this evening. I always really am excited to do these monthly, the 13th of every month, Goddess Roundtables, Galactic Goddess Roundtables. And so one of my questions for both of you is, we kind of are, I feel that we're kind of in a space of um, summing up where we are and what's next for us. So where are you in your work, and what is next for you? And Christy, if you would like to go first, because I don't think we've connected before on.
Sure, sure. Where am I in my work? I am actually doing some of my own ascension work and inner work because I really believe if you're going to teach things to people, you really need to get the work done yourself. So I am working a lot on inner work, learning how to advise people, how to guide people, how to help people with the work that I'm trying to help humanity with. And it's not easy. It's not easy work. It is going deep within to the deepest parts of your soul and learning to connect with that part of your higher self, your divine God essence part of yourself. Saying that down here, it's kind of difficult because we are in so much separation from our true selves here, and learning how to reconnect. So that's my what I really want to focus on. I want to mention something that Karen said. She was talking about frequency and tuning forks. I work with frequency too. It is all about frequency. It's all about vibration, harmonics, tone, because we are energy. We are frequency. So the first thing that was created, even before light, was sound. Sound, it was the great hum, that great frequency, and satin light is nothing but sound sped up. So we learn how to use those frequencies to heal, and that's very, very, very important. So this is what I'm trying to do now at this point, is to offer ascension classes and courses and really help people anchor in their groundwork to become more ascended. Ascension doesn't happen overnight. It's something you work on and something you make a conscious decision with to change your frequency, wanting to be that way. And then again, it's not, does it only affect you, but it affects others. So you're dealing with unity consciousness. And then in that aspect, you're affecting the earth and everything out in every layer of reality, all different dimensions and realities. So this goes, our thoughts and words and actions and frequencies go out into everywhere. And so what we do impacts everything, becoming aware of that, and how we transcend things. So that's what I'm working on. That's what I hope to help people with. And that's what I'm going to be offering.
Thank you, Christy. And whereabouts are you? Are you in America?
Whereabouts am I?
Yes.
I'm in Oregon. I'm on the
Okay.
coast of Oregon, southern coast of Oregon.
Thanks, Christy. Okay, so over to you, Karen.
Well, okay, if where are we gonna go with this, or what do we hope to achieve? I think a lot of it, like where, is more the education, providing information. I have usually like, and it's amazing. I can talk to whether it's a medical doctor, naturopath, or some holistic therapist. A lot of them still to this day don't know half the therapies that I actually talk about. It's actually quite alarming in a way, when I look at stuff. So I think goal, I actually develop and pioneer and do combinations of therapies. So I use different tinctures and things like that where we can actually capture them like on a speaker. That speaker is fed back into the computer. The computer then turns it into a vibration or a megahertz or hertz. And from that, we can send it out. So I'm actually daily pioneering things like that. So there are so many things that are coming up. A lot of people are anxious, just with what's going on geopolitically, but we've also got CMEs and where Kirsty is, I have a lot of people going, am I supposed to be here? And I said, well, according to certain maps, no. So depending where people are, if they're right on the West Coast. So I deal with Dr. Richard Allen Miller in Oregon quite a bit that talks about the pole shift and how we're affecting it. Because I'm feeling it up here and I'm probably I would say about 8, 9 hours from Vancouver, but I would be about 6 hours north of, as people know, Spokane, Washington, in the Sinaitic territory here. So as people think, just above, the Q552 base at Nelson, BC. So I think that's really where, people have got to work, I guess, not at all, but they need to like develop these skills. And really everything is inside. So that's why I work with the vibration, because the vibration is a wave and our waves penetrate internally. But part of the education, just to keep this YouTube friendly, is a lot of people are finding that they're getting quite ill and that we're going to be seeing some different things. Basically, eclipses coming up in August, of this summer. And a lot of those could be in alignment that could do some massive triggering with people that have taken those injections or things in their nose or have been intercoursing with those people. And so there's a huge thing that's known. I was just looking at someone called La Quinta Columba, and it's very much, worth looking into some of these things. So mine is to get, also into a strategic position. And by that, I mean in a safer zone. I'm on a fault line in some of these lakes here, and we know what's happening, that, things are speeding up. So, I mean, I'm in an area where I just showed the girls here that the massive amount of fires, we had direct energy fires, my whole mountain here was ablaze, and when you haven't lived through something like that, where you get direct energy, microwaves and beams and radiation kind of equipment, people just, I can't believe people to this day still think that, you can have something all ablaze there for a month and not have a tree burn. Like it just goes great, because it's some microwaving of to go underneath its ground earth penetrating. And so to me, I still can't believe in this area that people still refer to it. And I said, oh, you mean the microwave laser that I saw happen? Because I have seen them actually in action myself. So it's not like I need someone's picture of what happened at, Maui or something like that. So there's going to be, I think, a lot of things coming up. We're seeing changes in health and everything else. And obviously with what's happened, takeovers, basically forced by divorce, and taking a lot of resources that, as far as I'm deemed, those belong to the original tribes. They don't belong to corporations. It doesn't matter who had a boat somewhere or didn't have a boat somewhere. There's always been clan mothers and tribal mothers and councils. We've always had Earth Council and tribal councils here with treaties that still exist to this day. And so it's really disheartening to watch what's going on. And, I'll tell you something. I was invited by Monsanto many, many years ago. I had a meeting probably about 6, 7 years ago. And they told me that they had planned to take 250,000 people of selected bloodlines to Greenland. So, and again, a lot of people don't realize there's a massive space force, Thule, which is now the whatever Griffin one. But there's been a lot of stuff, and people keep thinking like what's up top, but it's what's below is going on.
Yeah, I'm so glad you brought that up, Karen. So recently, I think it was yesterday or today, I saw um, information coming out that I think it was Tyler, uh, who
Koala.
does one of the podcasts.
Journey
Um,
to Truth. Tyler
yes,
Koala.
thank you,
Yeah.
Journey to Truth, Tyler Cowell. Yes,
Yeah.
he shared someone else's video on Facebook, and the man was the man in the video was talking, and it's quite an old video. It's not. I don't think it's new. You probably
Right.
saw it, but he's talking about a UFO being underground in or buried in Greenland. So kind of so it was very obvious then to me and many others that the connection between Trump and Greenland and everything. So I don't know if you guys want to say anything about that.
I'm not really sure on that right at the moment, but I do want to mention what she was talking about the councils. There's a lot of councils off-world too, a lot of starseed councils and galactic councils that have been overseeing a lot of this as well. A lot of people think that they're gonna come down here and fix all this. It's not gonna happen like that. But they're well aware of what's going on. We have to do the work ourselves. It's up to us to do our own work. But we are kind of overlooked, if you will. We do have some overseers that are aware of what's happening here on Earth. And a lot of the Earth councils, the governments that work here on the Earth are also governed by off-world governments as well. Higher governments that, a lot of those politics are the politics down here are nothing compared to the politics out there. So it's kind of like it's very important that there's a lot of treaties that are being acknowledged right now on world for sovereignty and off world for negotiations, star negotiations. And this also has been taken up into the higher court systems, the off world court systems, which I have been involved in. So yeah, I just wanted to mention that Karen is right on about that. I definitely can see everything that she's talking about and there's validation in that. So just wanted to mention that.
Thank you, Christy.
You're very
And
welcome.
yeah, and so where are we going with this? So there is it's an what I'm seeing is an expansion of unbelievable stuff, which I know is very real and occurring. But most people, most normal people, they think a lot of what we're information that we're bringing into the world is just cracked and crazy, and I really understand how normal people are unbelieving of it because it is so out there. But I think as we go on in our lives and along with the years, I think a lot of this information is going to become normal. And I know that the more channeling I share from the Pleiadians, um, the more information they give me. So it's like I'm releasing information to get more information, to release information to get more information. And some of the things they've been saying lately, which I don't always get surprised with new information that they share, but recently, over the last couple of years, they've been talking to me about and channeling live about the that the dragons were real and that the giants are still that there are giants still alive in Scotland, at least one, and that Jesus had, which will sound crazy to some people, but Jesus had very physical dragons that he kept as not pets, but that he lived with. And I know how crazy some of that will sound, even to people who are believing in of UFOs and government conspiracies, which are, the vast majority is truth that's been hidden. I was laying in my bed the other day, and I looked up and I have this window. It's the only window I have because I have an attic room. But I was laying in bed and I was watching TikTok and I looked at the sky and the sky was like a really strange pink. And I'm in Ireland. Um, but Karen just sent me in the chat, she sent me a picture. And this would have been connected. The color I saw would have been connected to this. So I don't know if you want to share that, Karen.
Yeah, absolutely. I was just, gonna go through. Yeah, I'll screen share some of these. We should be able to here.
Sounds like more of a magenta color. And
Well,
the dragons have been around forever.
where is our chat room here? Just hold on.
Yes, and
Here we go.
recently they've said to me that dragons were or dinosaurs were, that there's kind of a blending of them. So sometimes we think of dragons and they're actually sometimes we think of dinosaurs and they're actually dragons. So there's a um connection there.
One of the
Like
things
Right.
can you see my screen with the pictures of the mountains?
no, we can see that the screen sharing, but it's David Hickey.
Oh, well,
Yeah.
that's great. He was just calling me, but
Oh,
that's great. Let me see if I can get some of these pictures up here and screen share again. One of the things is that a lot of people, they're used to what they consider deemed to be normal. And
Right.
here we go. And so one of the things, just for example, this is actually what my nice little area should look like, right? And then all of a sudden you don't know if you're going to be hit. I was going to show you with the a fire, okay? Or you're going to have some sort of chemical intervention or something is going to go on that you're not anticipating. And the reason I'm bringing this up is because this is actually what I experienced going into here. And so my nice little like forest looked like that. Now, people, I don't know why people still think this is a forest. I've seen the direct energy weapons come down. These are weapons and beams and lasers of mass destruction here. And so one of the things you can imagine, all of a sudden wanting to go for supper, and then all of a sudden your entire, thing is ablaze and everything within minutes is pouring in here. Now, those are not fires because it's still green there. You can see it's very selective. But one of the things when we're talking about this, these are not fires, these are chemical assaults on people too. So we're going to have retardants, you're going to have every chemtrail, anything geoengineering, anything they've dumped. So a lot of people are getting like aluminum and beryllium and all sorts of things. They were actually getting quite sick. Now, recently, we've had fogs and all sorts of things. And I'm just going to show you the colors that have been coming up. Very crimson. We shouldn't be seeing things like where think that you're going into having all these different, like northern lights and stuff. That's not normal. Up here, yes, but where you guys are, no. And so I put these up not only on my Facebook, but this is off my Twitter or Discord I put on. So hopefully you can see the intensity of what's going on in these places. This is not normal. And so a lot of stuff, what you're getting is heavy metals being dumped into the atmosphere. And you can actually shine a light under this just so you can see a little bit how pixelated, but it is literally coming down here. And in my area, it was similar to this with what was on the ground. It looked like fertilizer, like hail, but it sat there for 3 days until it warmed up and off-gassed, right? So this is what a lot of people are seeing. And when you start seeing things, let's say, not just the heavy metals, but, mercury and stuff like that, mercury oxides and stuff into the air, this is not healthy. It may look cute, if you live in the world of rainbows and unicorns, but to breathe in, absolutely not. And there are so many things that have been going on, and some of them are contributed to, we'll just say, I like to call them all pirates, but that's me. Basically on and off planet councils. And again, most people don't realize what actually Space Force even is, and the USSF. I mean, you can actually go back in 2019 and see they have their own flag, and every force division is underneath them. That's what most people don't realize. Coast Guard's underneath, Air Force, Army, Marines, all these different things are under the USS Space Force and different things. So I don't want to get too much into it, but this is the one just to bring to people's attention. Everyone's talking about this week because they're talking about what happened in Venezuela. But you're also, and I mean, we could get into 50,000 theories. We've all heard, just like we've heard 50,000 theories about the Atlas 3I, the, third interstellar, devices coming in here and space stuff. But this is a known, actually, space base. And it used to be called Thule. Now, where did the Thule connect to, right? And the Real Society and the Palladian and all back into the 30s and 40s, right? And a lot of Maria Orsific and stuff. But Pitovic is actually, the original was Thule Air Force Base. And there was a big kerfuffle. I don't know if you guys remember last year, but actually Vance was down there for a little bit because one of their female commanders had actually sent an email, kind of questioning things, and they didn't like it. So he flew, and there was a big kerfuffle. And why is he there? And, you got to remember what's above is below. Now, I will tell you a little thing that I know about is that many, many years ago, like I said, in 2018 or 2019, I was told they're going to take 250,000 people of selected bloodlines to Greenland. I know because I was actually invited and I turned them down. So obviously they had something going, but to take 250,000 people planned for end times and underground food supplies, water, seeds, seed vaults, things like that are easy access. And you look at the topography, this is in preparation for different things like eclipses and obviously, pre-planned solar events where they're processionals, like, on 2,500 years, 13,000 years, or 26,000 years, doesn't matter. There's stuff coming down the pipes here. And we can all feel it. We can all see it. I don't think anyone's, can hide their head in the sand on this one anymore. Like, you don't just wake up to that kind of a color, right? Going, I think it should look like a, Florida pink flamingo outside. That's not a normal color. That fuchsia is not healthy.
And let me just add that I think it was Trump recently announced about some of the weapons that were used in Venezuela, or at least there was reports coming out. I just wanted to add that as well. And so, Christy, over to you, darling.
Okay. Well, let me see here. I was listening intently on what Karen was saying. I wanted to first start with the bioluminescence chemicals and the metals and the stuff that's being directed towards humanity and the earth. Also, it's been found in the snow. There's been a lot of snow that has not been snow. It's been a lot of that. And I remember that couple years ago, there was snow that could even set on fire. I'm not sure if you remember, but
yes, I do.
Yeah, that was crazy. But there's so much around us that we think is reality that isn't reality anymore. And I think a lot of it has to do with the awareness. Again, it goes back to being aware. Learning how to be aware, wanting to be aware, and all of this information that people like yourselves are bringing forward to humanity that is very important, that it's not underlying anymore, that it's put out there, and that it's okay to put out there. So agreed 100%. I also agree that we have been in a pole shift for the last 10 years. Even the Inuit people know that the constellations have changed position. There is also, I was advised that on the last major eclipse we had, solar eclipse, there was a new sun brought in. It was a plasma sun because our original sun is burning out and it's not good anymore. Our original sun used to be yellow and soft, and now we have more of a white plasma sun. And it's not damaging; it's actually more beneficial than the radiation coming off the original sun. But suns only live for so many billions of years, and so things are terraformed, things are reconstructed in universes and multiverses on planets. This is a planet that has been terraformed many times since Tiamat was destroyed and before that. So there's a lot of evolution here, genetic evolution, if you will. And I think it's still going back to the species that want to dominate this planet, that want to control and dominate. And that is where the sovereignty comes in. That's where the awareness and sovereignty, heart coherency, all of the inner work comes into all of us so that we can decide what frequency we want to live on. Even if we're here in the 3rd D on this planet, we can also still live in a higher frequency here. It's our choice. And I do believe that things are going to be coming as well, and depending on what frequency you want to hold to be part of, anywhere from harvesting all the way up to a seed pickups. So it's all about choice. It's all about decision. It's all about awareness, and frequency, and what you're creating as a creator being, because we all are creator beings. So I'll leave it at that.
Thank you, Christy. So, okay, so I recently did a channeling where they were talking about Three-Eye Atlas, and they were saying, yes, but in simple terms, they were saying, yes, it's a mothership or similar. What are your thoughts on Three-Eye Atlas? Do you believe it's a comet or a mothership or?
It is an interstellar ship that has come into this frequency field, to bring a different frequency change. When I first was focusing in on that, long before anything was posted on it online or Facebook, I saw different frequencies around it. So this object that I really do believe is a ship, can change frequency, and it can change cellular structure or biological structure as well. So it's sentient, and it can create almost like a holographic image of one thing and then have a holographic image of another thing. So it changes its luminescence field as well. The mechanics of it. I really don't think humanity is ready for the full exposure of what it is, but I think its appearance, and I think its interaction with Earth and humanity on a anatomical level and spiritual level, that we are getting downloads. A lot of us are getting upgrades, downloads from this, where it's part of the disclosure process, it's part of the ascension process, that we have to go through these steps to be able to become more aware, to awaken. I am going to say that I know many people here on the planet that were astrally and physically taken on that ship. They were on it. I come from the feline family, and I do have some of my species are on that ship as well. They're called the Katai. So I have confirmation of that. Yeah.
Yeah, I agree with you, Christy. When I was looking at it, when I was channeling, they always, not always, but a lot of the time they come in with images, and sometimes those images are to do with the information, and sometimes they're separate information in images, which is quite hard to for me to navigate sometimes, because I got two streams of info coming in different ways. One is pictures and one is telepathy. But I did see a lot of different beings on the ship. It was very well lit up. It was very bright, but it didn't hurt your eyes. And I was seeing a lot of different rooms. And also, actually, they said, more importantly, they said that they've said it a few times, that there's energy being emitted from the ship to Earth that is very positive. So anyway, Karen, over to you.
Well, I always preface, which I really don't know. I know nothing. I'm not up there. I'm not in communications. So, I haven't actually wanted to remote view it, quite frankly. But what I will do, and I will show you who I was talking to because there was so much misinformation. I did a show that actually with Dr. Richard Allen Miller. And basically, if people don't know who he is, I'll just show you actually what came up here. So, because I did do a show and unfortunately it didn't take, so we're going to have to redo it. A lot of the information that, when we're talking about the Three Eye Atlas, and if people don't know who Dr. Richard Allen Miller is, he's who the X-Files was made about. He's 80 some years old. He spent 50 years in military naval intelligence. And so he built a lot of equipment. He's been also on and off the planet. He's been under in the deep bases. He's still responsible for some of this stuff and has a massive, massive, way above top secret cosmic clearance. But in here, I'm just going to go in here because if people want to do that, I actually sent him a thing. I said, can we take a look at this Three Eye Atlas thing? Because now all of a sudden it's alleged that it destroyed 89 satellites, right? A lot of this stuff that's being put out to the public is not correct. This is actually CGI, and he just happens to know the guy that's in this video. So he called him up. They said, that's not me. So actually these videos, these people are now going because they're doing identity fraud. And this is the problem that's going out there. So they've put in most of these things to do with Three Eye Atlas. If people are basing their information here, is that basically it's not valid. So that becomes a bit of an issue. And I know that, in dealing with, when I was dealing with even Comet Icy back in 2013, a lot of what happens here, and I'll just show you as well what we're talking about if people aren't aware of it. But this came into the solar system in July of this summer. So it's been around in here, and it just went perihelion on December the 19th. So as it's going back in here, we are getting strange signals. They call them the wow signal. And so it's pulsing different frequencies, almost like a Morse code to stuff. It's not acting like anything normal. I've talked to enough people that said they've also been on the ship and boarded the ship, military and time travelers and stuff. So there's talk whether it's, there's no one actually on board, or that there's actually empty sleeves or clones there, similar as well. So there's been a lot of discussion right down to there's a whole galactic, crew down there, and they're just creating frequencies. But a lot of the frequencies as well are translating as well into what you call the pole shift, which is why I call Dr. Richard Miller in, because we are seeing changes in that. And I just did a show on that as well. And
Karen, I think what you're saying is really important. I think there's a direct link between the pole shift, Antarctica, and Three Eye Atlas. I think
absolutely.
Yeah.
But
I agree.
a lot of people's ears started ringing, and I deal with a lot, instead of going to a doctor, they don't want to go doctor. They, call me up, right? So, because we can do the scans and we can do so much medical testing through biofeedback is, to me, 95% as accurate as drawing blood. So why would I? When you're sitting with that kind of high parameters, and at least you're seeing not the availance of what you're seeing with false positives and stuff that you may get in the hospital, or it doesn't correlate. Something is out, so something is in there to balance where they treat the symptoms and we go after the causes. But when you see with things like Three Eye Atlas or the explosions that we've had volcanoes are below us. I can talk even out to Oregon, right? You've got 7 major volcanoes that are actually spewing right now, and Mount Rainier and stuff has been putting out ash. Plus we got Hanford there that they're quite convinced that this is, on its way. And I think it's more interesting that when we start looking at these alignments where people are saying, my ears are ringing. And I saw another one go, oh, don't worry, it's ascension symptoms. I'm like, no, they're also doing valid things here. It's called Wide Body Area Network, which is WBAN, or Medical Body Area Network. Right now, they're loose harvesting everyone. And because of the increase in the radiation, people are reacting to this. So I really, it annoys me to know when people just, it's ascension, or it's great, or you're getting alignment with Mother Earth, or, the angels are calling you, right? I said, you know what, right now, if we keep thinking there's not also, and I'm not saying that we don't have, metaphysical and spiritual and quantum issues with that, because we certainly do, and emotional. But when you trace it down, they've been cranking the radiation right now. Everyone's got acute radiation. So it's not just Wi-Fi, it's 6, 7G, and the 6G is under everyone's skin, including your ears. So, a lot of people's skin, dental, sleeping, it's the same thing. I just came, and it was probably too much time in a hot tub, but it's the same thing. That was the closest I want to be to when they called an ambulance. I said, you can cancel the ambulance because they're not going to come. I'm not even going to allow them to touch me. I'm not going to allow them to do one test to me because I have more accurate things all sitting here. But one of the things that's interesting is that how people just let other people look after them. And I was glad that, someone, was there to pick me up, obviously after I cracked my tailbone and fractured my arm, and, but something as simple as that, I was like, whoa, that gave me like really great things. Because a lot of people are feeling unsteady right now. And just that microwaving or hormones, or you don't know what's going to happen. So, I think it's all great and fine to say we think we got some friends up there, but, they're doing this activation. It's not positive when you see, millions of innocent people in the wrong place, that are being detonated by other beings, whether it was what happened in Venezuela. And I mean, you mentioned that about the bleeding in the ears, and those are LRAD, those are direct energy weapons that targeted individuals or targeted individuals, and MK Ultra is about 30 years out of date for terminology. It is the wide area body network that they're playing and manipulating with. Because, people think like targeted justice. I just saw it this morning. Everyone's talking about that, but everyone here has got some form of acute radiation illness. And those are the things we need to teach and look at. Because I don't want them misinterpreted that, you and I talked a lot about James Rankin in the community, what happened in the last few months in Renetta, but I also know there's a logical explanation, and I can tell you everything that happened and why it happened to him. And I'll tell you, it wasn't scalar waves that occurred that did it. It was a combination of using inappropriate therapies that were all contraindicated for his condition. So when you take 10 contraindicated kind of drug or metamaterial therapies, you're going to suffer the consequences. So that's one of the things that I really...
Just going to pause there. Okay, welcome back, guys. We were just kind of having a break there. So recently there has been some of the current events have been to do with Venezuela, which we've already kind of covered. But also there was a woman recently that was shot by ICE in America. And I've watched that clip, and when I'm very much on the fence about it, because watching the clip, I remember watching a similar clip back in 2019 or 20 of George Floyd or something.
Floyd, yep.
Yes. Yep. And I was thinking, now, doesn't this remind me of that, where it was a big fake thing? So I'm very much on the fence about that. So that's one of my questions. My other question is, what do you think of Trump recently? And also, do you think Elon is a good guy, and also the question is there more than one Elon, or what are your thoughts about those three things? The woman that was shot, Trump, and Elon.
Well, was she shot, or, do we actually have daycares running in your United States being run by Somalians, right? I mean, look how many things that Nick Shirley and David have uncovered, right? They have basically put the American government from the FBI to every federal agency, not just, with wallets and all that, but also with going into how the standards are there. And so when you look at the amount of fraud, and it happens in Canada, it's a worldwide thing. This is an international mafia, fraudulent cartel, and this
I have a quick question for you, Karen. Which came first? Was it the announcement about the charity money going missing, or that story, or which came first? Was it that, or was Trump first going after Venezuela? Is there a connection there? There has to be.
Well, you're taking a look at what Nick Shirley, has been working on. Actually, they've been working on it for 7 years, so they've been slowly dripping on it. It's just it's really caught. But Venezuela with Moderna just happened. What is it, like 4 or 5 days ago, right? And Shirley's has been out a bit longer. But it all ties into and I actually watched Nick Shirley on Sean Ryan's show and listen to him for 2-3 hours, because it's much, much deeper than most people think. And when you bring up these, as people call F eggs, or your false F eggs, whatever you want to call them, is it they are being used to manipulate people, and for whether you call it rituals or keep everyone distracted. Well, they do these things here. I think there are many Trumps, there are many clones, many double actors, many colored ties. They got different heights, they've got different physical features. Same thing with Elon, who admits to being an alien or augmented with some of the Neuralink. You got to remember, a lot of people have been neural chipped here for like 70 years. This is not new. Clone 8 is the headquarters in Canada. My gosh, in 4 hours away in Kelowna, which, I'm going to go hang out there for a bit, is that basically you can get your cat, and there's people that have actually gotten their cats cloned for $30,000. So why aren't they doing these celebrities and stuff here? Everything up here is a lie. And if you can't be transparent, I don't buy this thing. They've got everything into contentious contention for a reason, right? Is that this is not about transparency. I mean, I just have to look at what goes down in there, and just as a nurse, and go the lies, the deceptions. This was not anything to do with what was going on. And we're hearing, by the way, in 4 weeks, there's going to be another lockdown between Canada and the UK. And it's going to make like the first one that happened in 2020 like a joke. So if this is it, and we saw what was happening even in these areas here with the ostriches and this virus and that pathogen and whatever else, they're already gearing up for this. And if people can't see the tightening of the 15-minute cities and the C4 cities and everything else here, but with what they're doing, I just see them as a bunch of actually pirates. This is me watching pirates in their thing. It's like watching Fred Flintstone. It's like watching a bigger version of Battleship with a few more pieces to it. How can you say anything's actually going? You don't know if you're talking to someone or augmented. I mean, I know enough people, like even Sabrina Wallace. She's an N2. She's a Neuralink second generation. These people have been interfaced since they were children, and so they're not really super soldiers or superheroes. They've been people that have been tortured. And how many people have to die before one gets through. So it doesn't matter what's going on just in the world. You can only be responsible. I really think this is the time is to get realigned and grounded and get into the right frame of mind, because whether it's food, water, and I don't care. I was a brownie, maybe into that thing where I was on Y2K. Things happened in our hospital. Actually, all our computers went down. Do you know we could have lost every ventilated ICU and NICU and PICU child, right? We have to go to manual. So it's not that things don't happen. You may just not be aware of it at what level, right? But if you don't prepare, and like I said, I've had 5 power outages here this month. So try being out here with a little bit of snow. Thank gosh, it's only like, just hovering about freezing, right? We can all handle our houses going down for 4 or 5 hours. But if you don't have a backup generator or you don't have a wood stove, you'd be hooped out here. It's a matter of thrival and survival. So it all ties into what they're doing here. And they're just a takeover, whether it's Iceland and Greenland, you're making threats. These lands always belong to the Star Nations. And I'm not talking the prisoner of wars on the, native bands and reserves that are contracted, but there are hereditaries that this was entitled to. And this is just another distraction for me. And when they even think about saying, oh, you can't want Russia as your thing. Well, Russia was one of the most advanced. It still is to this day. Russia, Tartarian, Siberia is more advanced than the US. And it doesn't matter for people for healing, keeping 5G out. I mean, where would you want to live next to all these plants or in some, boreal forest? I mean, you look at the beauty of a subway. Go walk into a subway in actually Russia compared to like New York. I don't think there is a comparison. How you treat your people and how you're back in alignment says a lot for those areas.
Yeah, I've seen some of those images of the subways in Russia, and they just look like they look like posh hotels that we have over here, some of them. They're just amazing. So, Christy, over to you. So it's about the woman shot recently by ICE and Trump and also Elon. And I totally agree with Karen that to do with clones and Trump and Elon. I think both of them have several. Also, Mark Zuckerberg or Zuckerman, whatever his name is,
Right.
and I remember back in the 80s, they made in the UK, there was a lot of information about they had cloned a sheep called Dolly. And that was back in the 80s when I
Oh,
was
yeah.
like 6 years
That was a
old.
woman. That was a woman, actually. I'll correct you. Dolly the Shape was an acronym. And the actual test project that they did for the gene banking for the Chimera project through, it's called Project Panther, that was done under the auspices of the Human Genome Project. So Dolly the Shape was a woman called Cynthia Marie Brewer.
Wow.
So we
Wow.
need to, if you read up on that, that is a whole, down the rabbit hole, I think, study here. So again, those are things we've been led to believe, that, well, they're just here. No, they were doing it way before. They've been doing it for thousands of years, actually. The injections and stuff like that, they've been going on since the 1600s. Like a lot of people just think, oh, it's, since the Rockefellers or came in or the Flexner report. Well, no, hell no. We've been at this for 400 or 500 years with this industrialized, even, weaponized non-medicine to us, semi-synthetic, and fed back to people. This is here, don't take willow, but we're just going to, play with a couple chemicals, put a bunch of poison it and rat poison, give it back to you as ASA aspirin. Like,
Right.
I mean, like, really? And people buy this, or putting horse paste up their butt when the original one is called actually Artemisia and wormwood. Even scripturally, they said at the end days, Chernobyl, and they talked about the wormwood. And the wormwood, the other thing for it is, right, what we call Artemisia. It's wormwood is your parasite cleansing. So, I mean, you can take it many different ways, but like, seriously, you just want to sit back. And now I'm just like, everyone goes, well, what do you got on your like inner Facebook group, right? And I'm going, it gets to the point that it's ad nauseum, because we should be going out, we should be in nature, you should be living, you should be producing at least 40% of your food. And I agree with Dr. Richard Allen Miller. I know what's happening in our cities now. Many of our cities, the actual city fronts are being boarded up due to immigration and gang violence and vandalism and vigilantism. And then now I'm seeing everyone here with the fentanyl bans, right? I mean, I never saw that. We didn't see that kind of stuff. The autism, the people with the clots and the shots, and diagnosing it as, strokes and heart attacks and things like that, because people don't want to deal with it. We got a long ways to go as like, like I could say, I would be up there going, and I'd think I'd like scoot the other way too. But it's like, why? What's the purpose right now? And so I think it's for us to get right with where we need to be, because I really think what's coming up with the pole shift, we have very little time, and the activation of the people that have been graphinated, that graphene that's going to go with the 50 hertz. And they've got a perfect alignment day for their first day of darkness coming up in August on the 12th. So I think people need to, we've seen what they were doing. These are steps. And when you actually can find out and see what they're doing, it's not hard. It's not hard to say. I looked at that film too, when you're talking about, I saw it back, forth. This, they just happen to have a camera here, and they just happen to have a camera there, and they just happen to have a camera there. But it doesn't matter at this point. I mean, your first response, if the car's coming, is to go back, not into something, and deliver 3 shots, thinking that you're going to be hit. So even that's not it's not a human response, put it that way. If not, all the ICE agents need to get retrained, but that is not a response. When you hit your head or something's coming, your first thing is to back away. And that's why it's even part of their policies, is that you're not to engage if you think you're being threatened or something's coming at you, right? You put your oxygen on first. So it did not make any sense. And to get 3 rounds off, that looked very calculated. So like I said, I think a lot of these things are set up, and it's very hard to determine. They've got people, just like whether it's your Charlie Kirk down there or whatever, or, I remember in Ireland here, I mean, it's just the plight of what's happened with the Irish and the children, the Cabbage Patch, and what they've done, and what the first sort of slaves coming over were the white tribes, and it was funny. I was listening to Renata Jones, and they were talking about the white tribes. Everyone has forgotten here that they're white tribal.
Mhm.
And they want to go join into this, mega thing and other things, or, push supplements and multi-level marketing, and call themselves podcasters in these areas. I'm like, how do you guys sleep at night? Like, I don't know, you know, bothers me.
True.
I don't know
Wow.
how to do it. I don't. I've been on more than one show that, we've done stuff, and after they asked her, we don't get on, or they'll pull it off because my information, like I was talking about nano zealots, has got to do a thing. Everyone's sending me stuff about Dr. Robert Young. I said, do you realize what the nano zeolite is that they were developing at Masterpiece? I said, do you want to talk to Zach from Power of the Pulse, or Sabrina Wallace, or Tony Pantalesco, or myself? We've had clients ourselves or get sick from these patches and stuff. It doesn't correlate with our genetics and blood types. And so it's not for everyone. And then when you use some of this stuff that has undisclosed contents on the label, I read labels right down to the last period, every letter. And if this is aether or mother love or undisclosed, or I've got natural flavors, well, what was that? Could that be adrenochrome or blood? That's what they do.
Right.
So when you give me a zeolite supplement, says a natural whatever, I'm like, and frequencies, I do frequency medicine. I also know you can imprint stuff. They could have been imprinting all these drugs and ivermectin and other things else that I would never ever allow for myself or anyone else. And you don't know what they've imprinted. They say clearly in the body it's imprinted, but no one thinks to look at the fine little print here. And I'm like, what are their frequency doing to you? Who creates it? All that stuff ties into it. I just sent off 2 letters this morning because of that. They keep putting me in on these, 300 people open. I said, take my stuff out. You don't have permission to do that. On top of it, I don't want to hear one more thing about Masterpiece and nano zeolites because I'll probably hit the wall because I know how they can interface and what they can do with those graphinated injections. And if you
Thank
think
you, Karen.
you see stuff that small,
Yeah.
if you see like here, like I was trying to explain even to this guy today that wrote a book with that's who it was Tom Ballantyne got a hold of me. And so I said, here's exactly what I see under a microscope. That's it. But you don't see the rest of the body. You just see here. And you don't see the biofield. You don't see the bones. You don't see the plasma. You don't see anything. And when they try and sell supplements to me and just show something with live blood cell, I can just do that and give you some baking soda and it will all look happy for a while. Like,
Thank you, Karen.
makes sense.
Yeah,
So,
thank you. So I would like to hear from Christy as well. But I want to add, I know that you could talk for not just hours, but days and months because you've got so much information. But I would like to hear from Christy as well. And it's about the woman being shot and Trump and Elon.
okay. First of all, I do want to say thank you to Karen because I am also um, acknowledging the information that she is bringing forth. And to me, it's very validated. I know a lot of this stuff too, not to the intensity that she knows it. And I think it's so important to bring that information forward to humanity. Even have to be reminded myself of some of this. And so thank you. Um, I don't know much about the woman because honestly, I haven't been paying attention to the media
Well
and
done.
to a lot of this craziness that's going on. I've been writing my books and doing other things here on the Oregon coast to try to distract myself from a little bit of this craziness that's going on out here. But I can't really answer that one. Um, so Trump, on the other hand, he is Andromedan. So he is holding a seat with the Andromedan Council. I do know this because being a part of the Lyrian High Council myself, I have a seat. I had a seat on the council. My father is an admiral to the High House, so I'm staying out of a lot of the delegations right now, and I'm focusing on my ascension process here with humanity, the earth, and all of that, which I talked about. But Trump he's kind of a, how do I say this? He is not who we think he is.
Do you think he's a good guy, Christy?
Yeah, I do. I think he does have a good heart. I think the factions and the contracts that he's been involved with, even in this reality, this especially this reality, is still manipulated. It's like a big chess game, and to when you're off world and you go to these councils, these intergalactic councils and starseed councils, you see, I've been to them. I've seen him at some of them. So I won't go into detail about it, but I will say he is being played, he is being manipulated as same as Elon is too. They each have a role here. They're allowed to play their role out to a certain extent, but they still have only the control they're allowed to have here within the factions that are working above them and with them. So this doesn't just happen here on Earth, but it happens off world mostly. The thing I want to go back to the Venezuela thing. We are dealing with like territory. So these are proxy wars going on. And Venezuela is more under the Anunnaki influence. And you're getting Andromedan influences going on. So you're dealing with two different factions that are trying to work out differences. And Andromeda is like, say, an American or a European. I mean, there's so many species in Andromeda. There's so many species in our universe and in other universes. Even Pleiadian. Look how many species lie within the Seven Sisters. I have some of my feline races are even there. And there's good Pleiadians and bad Pleiadians and good Lyrians and bad Lyrians. There's good and bad in everything. But so not one thing just covers everything. You have to actually go deep into the factions and the species that are working together. For what reason are they working together? What's their agenda? Just like Karen was talking about here on Earth, what is their agenda? Why are we going through the things we're going through? Why are we being poisoned? Why are, yeah, because there's a lot of reasons why. Has to go deep into the factions, has to go into territory, has to go into control, has to go into genetics, DNA. This whole universe is what we call a beta universe, meaning it's under genetic experiment construction. And it has been for millions of years. And it's been fighting through the millions of years, through the wars, we've been fighting over the genetics of this planet. Who's going to control the genetics here? So all of this ties into that, and it's nothing separate. It's nothing that's just all of a sudden it's happening separately. All this stuff ties into everything that's been happening for millions of years and goes back for millions of years off world. So you can tie every little bit of it into it. And I think if anybody can tie a lot of the scientific evidence along with what we're dealing with biologically and frequency wise, as Karen was talking about, she has a good idea of what's going on here. Because just as soon as we get on one subject, then there's something else that ties into it. And then there's something else that ties into it. And that is why the whole community that is working for the purpose of humanity, for the good of humanity and for the good of the earth with a good heart, those people are the ones that are going to bring forth the real disclosure, the real authentic, organic blueprints of humanity and of other species that are wanting to help humanity. We're in a huge mess, and we've been in these messes for millions of years. Now, for Elon, he's a tricky one. He's not from here. He also has councils that he's working with as well, and he has his own agendas with the factions that he's working with. And it's not really my place as who I am to go into other beings' agendas and other species' agendas. We all have free will here. So we're all allowed to speak our mind, but there is also universal law that needs to be respected. And that does apply here, in a sense. So in a consciousness, like state of realization. So again, what we allow to happen is going to manifest itself. What we don't allow to happen consciously, we can change. And we can also change timelines. We've jumped timelines so many times. I don't even know what timeline we're on anymore. We go back from World War III to another timeline, to back to the harvest, back to this, and all of this craziness. And it all has to do, it's not just frequency that holds these timelines. It's more than that. It's like we're fighting things that are still going on from millions of years ago. And then we have hardcore scientific, how do you say, information that we're surfacing here on Earth. We're trying to establish a new way of our reality, of what kind of reality we want to live in. And I think there's a bunch of them overlapping all at the same time. But that's part of the awareness. That's part of the waking up. If you don't know what you're involved in, you're never going to know how to manifest or how to get out of the situation that you're in. So you need to look at every aspect, from the weapons, the energy weapons, to the heavy metals in our bodies, to the targeting, to the all to the good things too. You have to look at the whole picture and go, yes, we're in this mess. So I do want to mention Trump. And there's always going to be people that are supportive of him, and then again, people that are not supportive of him. He's, like I said, he's Andromedan. So if that tells you anything, I'm just going to say he has an agenda that he is working on as well, just like everybody that's involved in politics. And it's not my place to really call him out on what he's doing, but I will say I'm aware of what he's doing. And I'm also aware of the councils that are working with him that are also puppeteering him, as well as others here on the planet. Because this is not free will, doesn't mean you have freedom. It means you have free will. And this is all, again, part of a multidimensional fracture that happened a long time ago that we are now becoming aware of, so that we can regain our sovereignty as our individual races that exist on this planet.
I kind of have a question for that.
Any sense? Yeah, go ahead.
Yeah. It's maybe to both of you. It's like, and this is just, again, looking at it from a holistic point of view, whether I call it a nurse, I just call it mom, just being concerned, right?
Right.
I take the races out of it, take the blood types. When you actually have people that are responsible for warp speed and lockstep, okay, actively in there, proudly saying that they're the father of the what, right? Not Fauci, but him, and takes full credit for that. And I don't care if they've got fake needles and everything else. They have deceived so many people. The integrity of that alone. And then when they get into people, when they say that, they're the councils and stuff like that, or the Andromeda Council, and you've got those different parties. Well, one of them that was on there, when it went clearly on there and read the rules, that said there's supposed to be a joint Earth representation, which would have been a clan mother, okay, to have Terrarian blood, which there's only a couple of us left here, but, from that angelic realms. But you sit there and I go, I don't get how anyone on racist or anything else could actually adhere to that and say this is for the betterment of whatever, because we just have to see what's happened to this planet. I don't even care if you clock 200 years, 50 years, or right now with the golden AI and the golden dome and everything else, and Palantir and what they're going to do. They've already got these into place. They're not coming. They've got them into place. I've seen them actually in action starting like 2-3 years ago. So this is just noticing the people, just to pacify them, even to have this kind of stuff with someone did go in to annihilate another area. And aside from territorials and Anunnaki and Orions, Greys and Pleiadians and everything else, and Portland Gates, the damage done through nuclear stuff here that's happened through the AI. Now they want to put up more of them. I mean, does everyone realize that everyone's water goes to whatever? And right now, they can't drink the water that are living near the existing ones, and you're going to make bigger ones. This is like, the squeaky wheel just keeps getting bigger and bigger. So I don't know, like when you were mentioning that, I don't give them a pass. I don't care if he's Andromedan, and I don't care what he is at this
No,
point, right?
no.
These people allow devastation to the planet. The gatekeepers also allowed this to
Yep.
get through. And I put full blame on all those councils that allowed it to us. So, on some of this, because we're not going to repair this earth. We're not, 50, what do we have to timeline it and go back and come forth? That's just ridiculous. We need to live in the now. And you're not going to repair and give me my forest back that they just, laser memed.
No.
And because they pre-planned that we're going to have actually avalanches here, right? And they've taken out the clear cuts and the blocks out here and my trees in the waters. We're not getting that back.
No, we're not.
And like I said, it's like being raped. We're not going to re-virginize ourselves right now. We're being most people getting through, even emotionally.
So what is like where do you see us going? Where do you see the earth? Like what do you see in the future? Do you see a positive timeline? Like what is the solution here?
What's
Because
positive? We stop all the psychopaths.
There's no one coming to save us. I mean, even the Pleiadians have said that, they're here to assist us, but we are the solution. So what is the solution? Like,
I really think that it's not gonna. There's going to be a time when Earth is going to be uninhabitable. If that does happen, then we need to awaken ourselves and to a point of awareness where we can either ascend out of, like physically get off world, or whatever. There may be a seed pickup. There may be a time when we need to get out of here. We need to get off this planet and be ready for it. Be consciously aware that that's a possibility. We may not, there's not, like she said, I mean, you can't repair all the stuff that's been damaged. And unless that even terraforming a planet takes a long time. Yeah, so we need to be ready for whatever comes our way, mentally, emotionally, spiritually, and physically if possible. And a lot of, humans don't have the biological DNA to withstand being in space. I mean, it's just the truth of it. So a lot of that, again, is trying to raise frequency to where you can actually repair or to, upgrade DNA. If we have to get off world, we need to be ready to get off world.
I think that's a really great point, right? Is that, a lot of these things, like, I mean, we've got so many different exoplanet, things I've seen up there. Like, I mean, there was like 400 at one point, not even one or two or whatever, but for relief and for evacuation. But, whether this one's a 5D and a 4D and who cares at this point, right? But the thing is, like, this has been terraformed and it's now beyond the tipping point. We're talking about population. We're talking even about China, right? At one point, just to keep up with the population, which they're lying to the people, right? And we know that some of these are closer to 500,000, right? Rather than getting to millions and billions and, what we're looking at. You would have to have 5 children. Each woman would have to have 5 children right now. And there's no way, because they were keeping down to, one child thing, or even for us, most of us, a lot of our generation and our children, like, hell no, we're not bringing children into this. You get these different things. So even on you were supposed to at least replace yourself, right? And if you can't have at least, the 2 children, then you're not even replacing, let alone how are we going to build it up at this point? So that becomes a factor because, like I said, when you have people injected and then sleeping with injected and that's sterilizing people, I mean, the whole thing is to sterilize the acute radiation right now. So am I thinking it's all roses? I think we're fighting just to maintain what we got. But as we all know, they build planets like they build cars. So I'm all for a new one.
Exactly.
What's the remedy? What's the remedy that you've done to us for this? Even on a soul level, like, It's I don't have the words for this. Like I just don't,
The
you
other
know.
thing too, I think is, and I knew about this in 1987, was part of the harvest. There were two harvests that were on the agenda, the part of
Yeah.
the Agenda 21.
Hmm.
One was a dark harvest, and the other one was just a harvest. And that was part of what we all went through in 2020. That's part of the harvest. And it's, like I said, it's other factions that are, have availability to do these things. This is not, Earth is not up, it's been seeded so many different times. It's been seed wiped so many different times.
Correct.
You know? So if you look back from the seed wipes that have happened, and even the dinosaur thing, for an instance, those were Sauron, but that was an experiment. That was to see how this massive body could sustain raw material, raw energy, and how and it failed horribly. So that it was taken out. It was part of the experiment that didn't make it. There's a lot of human genetic experiments that didn't make it either. We had 26 seed creators allowed to genetically, use this planet and this universe for experiments. And we are now down to like 22 of them. And I know this for a fact because before I even was born here, I spent time with the Kuite, who are the Mantids beings, and they were up in the Hollow Records. I was with them before I came down here. So they're just kind of a mediator, but they also, they're a Hanovian being that, and I want to get to this too, because I think it's kind of important that people realize this so they're not kind of hoodwinked over this deal, which many are. This whole universe is a fallen universe. We are living in a fallen universe. So why do you think that so many things happen here as being a experimental universe? Just because we're here and we acknowledge we do acknowledge a lot of good things, we're living in an area that is not just all good. There's a lot of unjust here, but it's those of us that carry that goodness with us and that bring it forward that really makes a difference.
Well, this has been so intriguing for me, from what you and from what Christy and Karen has been saying. It's raised a lot of questions for me. Um, there's been times during this evening that both of you have been sharing stuff that I haven't heard before. Um, and the more the older I get, the more I know, the less I know.
Mm,
And I am one of those rare people that are willing to be wrong. I think way too many
me
people
too.
are stuck on their own false beliefs. Um, and I could be wrong about a lot of stuff. I could be wrong about everything. Um,
Yep, me too.
one of the things, Christy, that you were talking about just now is that I haven't heard before is about the fallen universe, which I find really intriguing. And I think that their energy has really shifted halfway through this uh, Zoom meeting, where it suddenly took a different turn in a very good way. That's not to say the first half was wrong or bad or inaccurate, but the energy definitely changed. I don't know if you two can feel it as well, but it suddenly
Mhm.
got more expanded, more serious. So I would like to follow up with you two again, kind of the same, like when it shifted, when the energy shifted.
Yep.
And I haven't heard about the what was it you said, the fallen universe? I haven't heard of that before, which is interesting. Um, there's a couple of things I've been told that um, about Trump. Um, and I'm willing to be wrong, but one of and I really do feel your Lyran energy because I have that in me as well. Um, but one of the things the Pleiadians said to me about Trump is that he's a good guy and he's working with them very closely. Having said that, I do believe there are several Trumps. I also believe there's several Elons and several Mark Zuckerbergs and other people that are similar that are up there with a world platform. Um,
Agree.
um, so I think that's very interesting because I think that, it like which Trump are we talking about?
Exactly.
Yeah. So
The
and
one
are
they
we
want us to talk about.
yeah. And I've seen Trump doing things over the last couple of months that I find very surprising. Um, that goes against the Trump that I know that the Pleiadians are talking about. So I don't know how I think we should wrap it up for this evening. I think this conversation that we're having, not just this evening, but the whole everything that's happening on Earth, like we could there's so many different aspects that we could be talking about. And it's like
I agree with you. I agree with you 100%. There's a lot to that we could surface, and I won't know it even until it comes up. So
please share your website, Christy. How can people
yeah.
find you? And what do you offer services or
Yeah, I just got it up like yesterday and I'm still editing it. I'm still working on it. I just wanted something to put out there. Um, I wanted, like I said, I want to teach people how to work on the positive aspects of themselves, regardless of whether we're going to be riding the ascension waves in here or bailing off in a ship or who knows what's going on this planet, because we really don't know what's going on this planet. And I think it's important to be ready no matter what happens. So the more awareness you can have, the more disclosure you can have, the better. And it comes from all of us. We're all very important parts of this puzzle. With that being said, um, I have my site through GoDaddy. I think I do have it on my website. What the link to get through it? It's Eternally Starborn. Um, is my website. It's also one of my books that'll be coming out and probably in a year or two. I am hoping, and I have been in communications with a gentleman that I will disclose his name when I get permission to that hopefully we'll be working on making it into a movie later on. Um, but the first book will be The Radiant Starlight, and it's kind of a very important book because it's an ascension guide for humanity, and it's actually a book that is inside my other book in my other story. And I am going to try to put out as many species, as many wars, much galactic history that I can in my second book, so that people and even creation. And I also am bringing in the tribes of the earth, from the native people all the way down, all the way to the Aboriginal people, to the tribes in the Amazon. I want them to get a perspective of everything, not just one aspect. So that's why it's probably the second one's going to take me a while, but the first one should be out here by February. And it's kind of a guide. It's kind of an activation key for the second book and my story that is set there, which kind of goes hand in hand. Um, so that's kind of been taking me a while. I will be offering some uh, activations. I do activations with the heart centers. I work with my Lyrian crystal technology. In a way where I can remote view, I can scan, I can do see a lot of ailments in the body, a lot of different things. I also have worked on animals. I'm an animal communicator as well. I've worked with a dog that is a very good friend of mine, who has had him and got his heart murmur down from a 2 down to barely even existing. I do have some reviews on that, that I'll be posting. I'll be posting some of my interviews on my website as well that I've had with others in the past. So yeah, there's a lot more that I'm building, and then I will have a shop too for merch that if people want to, buy stuff there, there'll be stuff available. Just building it right now, just as we speak. So I want to thank you for asking about that. I also want to say that I will be putting up there my link to LifeWave. I work with LifeWave patches. I'm a brand partner with LifeWave. The reason being they work with stem cell activation. I have been on LifeWave for over a year, and it has actually improved my health and my conditions to where I can function at a higher level of awareness of myself, memory, body, mind, soul. So I'm just saying that it worked for me, and it does work on animals as well. And I wouldn't stay with a product long enough if I didn't feel that it was beneficial, and it is very beneficial. Stem cell therapy, phototherapy, all activated by copper peptides in your body. All it does is activate through light therapy and phototherapy, and then your body does its own healing. It's like your body's DNA centers and cellular centers are turned on again by that have been laying dormant. There's other things out there that are great too. And I'm learning a lot more with some of my other friends that are working with a lot of technology to better our bodies. I really wanted to say a thank you to Karen for bringing up the health, what to be aware of, how to go about healing your body with frequency, tones, all the things that she's working on is amazing. I would be very interested in learning more about that. And I am highly supportive of frequency healing as well.
Thank you, Christy. Um, yeah, there's a lot to come for you. A lot of great work that you're doing. And
Thank you.
Karen, please, what is your website as well?
I don't actually have a website. Got enough like social medias. Those are my websites. So there's Karen Ann McDonald on Facebook, or K.A. Lusick, which is K.A. for Karen Ann. And I'm on Twitter. I'm on Discord. I'm in MeWe. We got the LinkedIn, all the professional stuff too, Telegram. So that's more than enough, I think, websites that I can handle. And then if they want, they can have my email, which is, there's one, which is a Gmail, which is KLAMOTHER. So clanmother13 at Gmail. And then there's a Proton Mail, which is KALM, the calm 13 at protonmail.com. So those are usually the two better ways. And, that way, if they want to see sessions or just have consultations or they just have questions, I've got all sorts of stuff. So the frequency devices that I've added to basically in the Insight Health Genius and other ones is that those are stuff that I've made directly. I've made like 4,000, as you think, radionic Rife codes, 4,000 of them. So it's kind of in a sense like muscle testing, or through the voice, you can look at post-traumatic stress and all sorts of different things people are going through. It's not just a physical, mental, or emotional. It covers the biofield as well, which is why I like doing color reports. It's kind of like a mood ring in a way, but you can read the things like iridology or live blood as well. So we have those all basically computerized that I did as well. So it's kind of nice, get to do that. So that's probably the best way to get a hold of me.
Thank you, Karen. And okay, guys, so I think we're going to call it an evening. And I know there'll be many more discussions. And if you would like to subscribe for more of these, please subscribe to my Substack, Soma Ara, and my website is somaara.love. Of course, I do offer my own readings and services, and you can check those out on somaara.love. Okay, guys, until next month, or until whenever it is that we connect again, I wish you a lot of love and a very beautiful 2026. I know that the energies already have been off the scale, and there'll be a lot more of that to come, I believe. And yeah, I love you guys and see you soon.
Take care.
And thank you,
Thank
Karen
you.
and Christy, for this evening.
Thank you. Thank you
You're
very
Thank
welcome.
you
much.
for
I just
your
wanted to
time.
add, if anybody wants to get a hold of me for now, they can reach me at eternallystarborn2024@gmail.com. And I'd be happy to talk to anybody or, work with anybody there.
Fantastic. Okay. Okay, bye guys.
Goodbye.